Hi, and welcome to our first launch event of 2025. My name is Kaarle Parikka, and I'm the head of marketing here at Falcony. As you can see, the woolsock season is firmly on here in Finland, but we are promising to keep you warm with the exciting array of updates we have to share today. First, we will introduce a new add-on in our Falcony family called Registry Management. Second, we will recap last year a bit, just as a reminder, and also introduce some smaller but still meaningful features and updates. And finally, we will again jump to the future and show what the future holds for the whole Falcony platform. As always, we are here to get you involved. So obviously, there's a live chat available for the whole duration of the event. Use it, ask questions, and share your thoughts. Our colleagues Paul and Okko will be there to help you out. Links, further information, and the event recording will be shared after the event. So, 3 sections and 3 amigos. Welcome Kasper and Arttu. How's the vibe today?
It's amazing. More light every day, first of all, and I'd say hard work paying off as Falcon is doing really, really well.
Likewise. And I hope everybody had a great Christmas holiday. I sure did. And now back to pushing customers to succeed.
Sounds really good. Let's get going and then relieve the listeners from our small talk. During our last launch event, we already promoted that something will be happening with the registries. Could you, Arttu, explain a bit more about what they are and some background for this update in general?
Of course. Again, just to remind, whatever we develop or launch here at Falcony is related to this bigger shift our customers are experiencing every day. A shift towards on-demand world where people are expecting everything to work immediately and with just a few clicks wherever they are.
And the better companies can serve this shift of on-demand world, the better off they are. Why is that?
Yeah, let's put it this way. In the old paradigm, in the old world, employees were more or less required or even forced to report or document certain tasks, incidents, or whatever. But that assumes that someone higher up knows better and they would just need the data from the field to make the decision.
But as we all know, that's not how things actually work.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also why we talk so much about involvement. Involvement is about making people want to share what they have in mind. It's about them not even noticing that the documentation happens at the same time. And it's about employees feeling that finally somebody is listening and doing something about this that I've been sharing, instead of being blamed for reporting, for example, the wrong system, something that they have in mind.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, but how does this all relate to different registries?
Yeah, good question. Just like the reports are pulled naturally from the field in an involvement-friendly solution like Falcony, the data that comes with those reports, inspections, observations, or whatever, should match the just a few clicks philosophy.
And this is because structured data is often more useful than unstructured.
Yeah, registries help to get better data with the same, or I'd say even less effort from the end user's point of view. Mm-hmm. And this leads, obviously, like you can see, to better overall reports and better overall analytics.
Which then again can be seen leading to management teams demanding even more of the same.
Yeah, exactly. But I'd say enough with the background. Let's show what the registries are, shall we?
Yeah, let's go to the more practicalities. Kasper, will you?
Yeah. So today we're introducing registries as a part of Falcony. And as you can see on the screen, the registries cover a lot of different types of records. So, for example, customers, equipment, projects, orders, IT assets, spaces, even chemicals, you name it.
Sounds amazing, and I can see that there's pretty much limitless options and possibilities when it comes to the types of records and registries. What does this mean in practice?
It's practically a way to bring all different types of records into one place, where they can be used for different purposes like reporting observations, conducting audits, or assessing risks, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And if we dive a bit more deeper to the practicality and give even more concrete examples, how does it help to have projects as their own registry, for example?
Well, for example, one might want to report observations on a project level. And when the projects are in their own registry, they can be used they can be used as its own data field in the observation form instead of having to type each project out in a text field.
And I can see that if there are multiple registries within a customer's workspace, they are listed in this kind of a single view where the admins can see all of them with a simple glance.
Yes, sir.
Great. Arttu, how does an individual registry then look like?
Yeah, besides the obvious fact that, of course, each record in a registry is in its own row and has a name, there can be as many columns as one desires within a registry.
So for example, here on the screen we have a vehicle registry, and as you can see, there can be car models, car brands, years, plate numbers, etc. as their own columns.
Exactly.
Perfect. Let's then jump on to how the registries can be used.
Yeah, so each registry can be used as an audit question or as an observation question, and in as many audit templates and observation templates as one wants.
Yeah. And how do they show up when used as audit or observation questions?
They look just like a normal select field where the end user doing the audit or reporting the observation can use the search bar to filter for the records.
And, if I may, obviously one major benefit here is that with the single source of truth of the records, there are no typing errors for the same specific record.
Yeah, and it's also often faster to input the data since the search bar works even in the middle of the word.
Really good. But that's for the name of the record, right?
Yes.
What about other columns in the registry? How can then they be used?
It's actually quite simple. Each of the extra columns in a registry can be automatically fetched into their own data fields based on just the one record name picked. Of course, within most of the forms, whether audit or observation, you don't need all of them. So each of the columns, like the extra columns in the registry, they are their own data fields or questions, as we call them in Falcony language.
Then if we think about upkeep, how are the records being kept up to date, and what are the options here?
Well, there are two options here, manual or via integration. So manual means that there's an easy-to-use Excel that you can export and import, and where you can change the records by removing or adding or just changing the fields that are there. Whereas integration means that our registry API does that automatically.
And if we think about specific systems, what kind of systems could be integrated?
We're agnostic with what type of source system is being used, as long as that source system can then be connected to one of the integration platforms that can then speak with our API.
Perfect, thanks, Kasper. Then on to some practical examples again. Here on the screen, you can see a bunch of different registries Falcony has been already used for. Arttu, where do you want to start if we do a more detailed round?
Maybe customers.
Here you go.
Thank you. So instead of considering only customers, it's often even more beneficial to consider 2 or even 3 different registries at once. In this case, it means that audits or observations can be connected not just to customer record, but also for product and order records.
Yeah, so let's say that somebody's reporting a customer complaint. Just think of how much easier it is to follow up when you have the exact name of the product, you have the order, perhaps even a link to the order system, price of the products, and what's being claimed.
Well, a lot easier. That actually goes much deeper than just making sure that there are no typing errors.
Let's also remember that all these data fields can be used even further with conditional logic and calculated fields.
And what are those, if we talk more specifically?
Well, for example, the price of the product along with other data field for the amount of products. You can combine those and have a total sum of them.
Oh, makes sense. And just naming a few templates where customer, product and order registries might come handy are different types of customer inspections, shopliftings, product delivery or damage reports, product inspections and so on.
Yeah, probably hundreds of different types of forms.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Kasper, what's next on the list?
So next up is a group of machines, equipment, and devices where the maintenance is often critical and where there are also safety-related scheduled tasks.
Like, for example, machine risk assessments.
Exactly. And with the possibility to bring these assets as their own registries, all of those are easier to do and more mature for better data analysis.
For sure, the benefits are easy to see. Next we have buildings and spaces. Arttu.
Yeah, when we serve property owners, managers, developers or other service providers, the level we typically use as Falcony Places listing are the properties themselves. But properties can consist of multiple buildings and each building always have multiple spaces or units within it, depending on the property type. With these registries, it's easier to link each audit or observation, not just to the higher property level, but also to the building or space or unit, if it makes sense.
So if we go to the nitty-gritty level, the really specific stuff, we could, for example, look at cleanings done for a specific toilets. Am I right?
Yeah, the specific toilet would come from the space registry in that case.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Next up, projects and suppliers.
Yeah, so we already covered projects to some degree, but for both suppliers and projects, there are very specific workflows that our customers need to do, whether they be supplier audits or project risk assessments.
And once again, we're making all of it easier with these registries.
Yeah, what we've seen is that having just a single registry within Falcony, like let's say suppliers, and then doing supplier audits related to that specific registry, it often breeds a set of more supplier-related templates or workflows.
And why do you think that happens?
Well, having them structured there in Falcony helps to have a holistic view also from that point of view, opening the mind to what other things you might want to be reporting or documenting around the suppliers.
Yeah, good point. Then next up we have vehicles, vessels and aircraft as shown on the screen. Anything special relation to these compared to the other registries?
Perhaps the main thing is that for these specific registries, there are a lot of regulatory related requirements. So having the needed identifiers within the registry records as separate columns, it eases the reporting process significantly.
Good. And then we have a bit of a special registry also here. Arttu.
Yeah, so chemicals. So our registry feature supports the database of different safety data sheets that can then be used to create the workplace-specific chemical listing.
And will these safety data sheets be available for other customers as well?
Yeah, well, this is why it's like a special case of a registry. So just like with emission factors that are in the Falcony ESG product for emission reporting, they are common for all of our customers. And we make sure that the database of them, so in this case safety data sheets, gets better and better over time.
But as with the emission factors, our customers can always still add their own.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Great. Hey, any other registries we didn't cover?
Well, an obvious one is employees, especially in HR-related workflows.
Yeah, and maybe another one is IT and digital assets. That is a growing segment also for us because of several EU regulations in relation to this area.
True. How could we sum this up then?
Well, if we consider how most of the typical reports were done in the past, so let's say many of the incident reports were done by email, for example, or by phone. Most of the data fields were free text or maybe date and timestamps on top of that. But nowadays, you can get dozens more and fully actionable data points with less and less effort at the same time.
That's completely true.
And the more observations and audits and thus data users report and share from the field, the better and more actionable analytics there will be, like mentioned.
Yeah, which then again leads to even greater hunger from management teams to know even more.
Yeah, the flywheel goes on and on.
Exactly. So, to sum it up, if you want to hear and talk more about any of these registries shown today, or if you have any other registry needs in mind, we are more than happy to book a meeting with you and discuss the topic in more detail. You can do that right away from the chat, from our website contact form. The link will be also shared now, or by contacting us, any of us here at Falcony. This also concludes the first section today. And instead of having a break, we'll actually jump right into the next topic. So here we go, feature updates and 2024 recap. How did our last year look, Kasper?
We actually had an amazing year, not just business-wise, but also with both how our platform was used and developed.
I couldn't agree more. As shown on the screen, the amount of observations, audits and active users, all of them grew double digits.
I think an interesting aspect that's pretty much happened every year, not just 2024, is that the usage growth of our platform is coming not only from having more users in Falcony, but also having the existing users using more and more.
You're actually one step ahead since I was just getting to that point.
Sorry about that.
No worries. The main point here is that it's just encouraging to see that the vision we have around involvement seems to truly work.
Definitely.
Yeah. And one of the ways to drive even more involvement is by enabling more and more use cases within Falcony, which is exactly what we did last year. Didn't we, Kasper?
Indeed, we did. During the spring, we launched Falcony Risks, which immediately took off, and not just as its own solution, but also as a major improvement to many of our HSE customers.
And then in our latest launch in September, we also did the same for ESG.
That's right. And I know that you and Arttu have been on top of this, but it's nice to see how fast these new use cases come to life.
True. Hey Arttu, any updates since the last launch regarding ESG?
Yeah, when we launched, just as a reminder, we had the double materiality assessment, ESRS disclosures, Scope 1 and 2 emission reporting, and the API for other ESG-related data and metrics within Falcon ESG. Now, besides the fact that, of course, all of these have improved since then, we've added climate risk assessments, customizable stakeholder surveys, human rights and environmental risk assessment in relation to this due diligence directive, just about all of the 15 Scope 3 emission categories, and just most recently EU taxonomy reporting.
The product is truly moving fast here.
It is, and I must say, so are the regulations too.
Well, true, it's a moving goal, so to say.
But yeah, of course, we'll keep on improving both Falcony Risk and ESG and all of the other products, but there's also more products to be released in the future that I can say.
I'm eagerly waiting for those.
Likewise.
Let's then jump from products, the feature updates released in 2024. First one I have here is the open link feedback loop. Kasper, what does that mean?
Yeah, so this really changed how we are able to involve, for example, contractors, customers, and other external stakeholders deeper within Falcony. So in practice, it means that when an open link is created, the admin can decide whether the user reporting through it can sign up if they decide to do so.
I really like this feature myself.
Yeah, me too. And not just from an involvement perspective, but also because it enabled so many new processes to be handled better. Like, for instance, customer feedback, surveys, or maybe the one that I like the most, work permits.
Sounds great. And on top of the open link feedback loop, we also defined these external users to be listed with their own role in the user listing. Am I right?
That's right. And admins can decide whether they want to change the role then to something else. If, for example, some external user is particularly active.
Makes sense. What's next? Table views. This is quite generic when I say it out loud like that. So, Arttu, what does it mean in practice?
Yeah, sure. So what is shown on the screen, these table views were first updated in most of the administration side tabs, like users, places, and roles. But where it's had the biggest impact, I would say, is in audit and observation table views. What it means is that users can now choose to view both audits and observations either as cards, so card listing, or as this kind of a table view.
And I assume, since we launched this, that the tables have their own advantages.
Yeah, of course. It's much easier to filter the tables using even like multiple columns. You can pick which columns you want to see and also sort based on different aspects of the audits or observations in the listing.
And all of these tables, they can also be exported to Excel.
Yeah, of course, there's the button.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, next up, integration logs and integration documentation. Kasper, why is this so important?
Yeah, so for a long time we have seen integrations as extensions of Falcony that increase overall value and value of the entire product. And the more we have built these integrations with different systems, it's made more and more sense to provide better visibility for our customers to be able to see what's going on with these integrations. So the logs and documentation, they do just that.
Makes sense. Then something we haven't yet introduced, but was also delivered last year, nonetheless, for some of the first clients. It says here, autofill data fields based on linked observation. A bit of a monster as a term, so Kasper, could you slay it and explain it in more detail?
Of course. So let's have an example. Somebody reports a harassment case to the HR team, and the HR team then needs to investigate that. So an investigation is opened in a linked observation so that stays within a smaller group. And now there are probably a lot of details in the observation that then need to be discussed in the investigation, and it just doesn't make sense to copy and paste stuff over from one observation to another.
And this feature helps with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So with this feature, you can select which data fields are automatically copied over from the original observation to the linked observation.
So am I right that this feature, it simply uses the same calculated fields or generated answers functionality that we're, for example, using with the risk matrix questions?
That is correct.
Very nice. Arttu, then we have another small update, and this one relating to the pivot grids.
Yeah, as audit questions nowadays also support a lot of different question types like number, whole number, and text. It's now possible to aggregate the pivot table reports based on these. So you can aggregate based on number questions, whole number, and text questions in there.
Excellent. Then next one on the list, tenant satisfaction surveys. Kasper.
Yeah, may I take this? You can take the next one.
Sure.
So, of course, this is not just for the tenant portal related customer satisfaction surveys, but an overall solution to help surveying anonymous users. We simply started our go-to-market here with the commercial real estate tenants.
And how does it work then?
It utilizes the same open links Kasper was talking about earlier and simply aggregates all the answers to a separate dashboard where you can sort and filter them.
So as simple as that.
It doesn't need to be any more complicated to be effective.
To the point. Another thing that is to the point is our new tab called Discover More in the Falcony UI that you can find on the left-hand side, main navigation on desktop. This was created to help you, so our customers, to see what features, products, and integrations we might offer that you might not be yet utilizing. Anything either of you want to add in relation to this?
Perhaps just that whenever we push new stuff out, especially those that come with a price tag, They will also be added here in the Discover More section.
So, for example, registries, will they be there?
Yes, they will. It's an add-on and comes with a price tag.
Thanks for the clarification, Arttu. Let's then move on to Power BI dashboards. These are something we've talked rigorously about basically since 2021 events.
Yeah, that's right. And I'd say last year, 2024, was really the year when our Power BI development really took off. Besides the fact that we already had a bunch of good-looking dashboards, last year we published a lot of improvements on them and 4 completely new dashboards.
Let's now go through them one by one. The first one is being shown here on the screen, the Safety KPI dashboard.
Exactly. So what this covers is pretty much everything a head of safety or safety manager needs to show the organization's safety performance. So for example, different kinds of injury frequencies, trends around those, days since last accidents took place, and some groundbreaking leading indicators like adoption and reporting rates.
Really good. Next up on the list, tenant portal or tenant experience dashboards.
Yeah, this was also released last year, but it took a bit of time since many of the tenant portals are as separate Falcony workspaces, so to say. So we needed to create first this multi-workspace database connection to be able to have a good portfolio dashboard of all the tenant portals our customers might have.
Makes sense. And what do the dashboards cover then?
Yeah, so just listing the main KPIs. So of course page views, how many visits there have been in overall and in each tenant portal, number of questions, so number of tickets, number of announcements, days since last announcement was sent, survey scores, audit scores if those are in use, and of course trends and breakdowns of all of this.
And not to forget the filtering that we have.
Yeah, the filtering is in every single dashboard that we have.
True. Then about survey scores, we have another slide here shown on the screen now. Does it mean that we have this not just for the tenant portals, but also for any other surveys like NPS?
That's exactly what we've done. And so for NPS, for example, which is probably the most common survey that there is, our customers can create open links and survey their customers, employees, or whoever they want, really. And all of those answers are then pushed to this very nice looking and user-friendly dashboard.
Really good. And since Falcony is used so much in other functions, it's likely quite easy to compare, for example, audit results to NPS scores. Am I right?
Yes. It's perhaps good also to remind everybody that the Power BI dashboards that we have, they're simply files that our customers can open in their Power BI desktop. And we are definitely not restricting or restraining how they are then used or developed further.
It's only probably just natural that it happens in the long run.
Exactly. So we provide these templates that are optimized for a specific use case, but are kind of generic. And then each customer can then refine these templates however they like to best suit their individual needs and requirements.
Okay, a couple more before we move on. First, a risk management dashboard.
Yeah, this is mainly for the Falcony Risks product, as it is for visualizing different risks and opportunities in a single dashboard.
And then there's another one for ESG.
Yeah, as one might guess, this is for the Falcony ESG product. Both the risks and ESG dashboards have of course had several improvements, like mentioned in the past year, and I expect us to have even more of them in the near term.
All right, that marks the last update from 2024, at least ones that I've listed here. Any closing remarks for this section?
Well, it's easily lost in the woods of these better analytics or certain functionalities within a platform, but in the end we look at these new features from quite simple principles.
And those simple principles being?
Well, looking at from a supply and demand perspective, the way we see the world is that there will always be demand for more data, for better decisions, so more observations. And then again, from the supply perspective, most employees will always want to have a voice to share what they see, hear, or notice. And in a way, if we can satisfy the demand for better data with the supply of observations by automating, sharing, defining, or analyzing them among the different functions and management, we see that we will be in a good position to help our customers.
So to sum it up, at the heart of improvement, it's still observations that matter.
Exactly, as is shown there, and I don't think that principle is going to go anywhere.
I fully agree. Hey, that concludes the second section of today's launch event. And since we're not going to be changing any seats or people here, hope you don't mind, we will again continue with our breaks. The third section is once again a glimpse to the future roadmap. Shall we get the ball rolling, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, Arttu, you first. What kind of plans do we have to improve or expand the different involvement use cases?
Again, good question. We've talked about Falcony being an operational involvement platform for probably as long as we've been known as Falcony. And ultimately, it means to be able to involve your employees, stakeholders, or whoever for pretty much anything.
And that's why we also launched the risk management and ESG solutions last year. Am I right?
You are, and it's not just us innovating these new use cases within Falcony. Almost every week I see or hear our customer base coming up with innovative ways to utilize Falcony for new types of forms, assessments, reports, surveys, audits, inspections, whatever.
So what are we planning next?
What's going to happen is we will simplify, clarify, and combine many of the existing products and of course add new ones along the way to create what we call Falcony suites.
And these suites would then cover multiple products?
Exactly, products or modules, however you want to call them.
Very good. So now on the screen, here are the 6 suites we've planned thus far. So starting with HSEQ, then we have GRC, ESG, facilities, security, and last but not least, XM, which stands for experience management.
Exactly, you got them right.
Let's then have a look at each of them individually and start with the HSEQ suite. Kasper, your thoughts on this one?
So HSEQ has already been our biggest product line, so it only makes sense to have a suite for it as well. The thing with HSEQ is that not all companies need all of the modules or products offered by a comprehensive HSEQ solution like Falcony. So by showcasing what this suite consists of, it's easier for customers to understand it, buy it, and expand it.
So are we going to add new products and modules under this Falcony HSEQ suite?
We are. Many of them are what Falcony already has been used for previously, but some of them are, of course, new ones too. So just to name a few, chemical management, ISO compliance, and job safety analysis.
Excellent. How about GRC, so our governance, risk management, and compliance suite?
Under this, we'll be including, for example, the current Falcony risks, but also whistleblowing. New modules will include, for example, case management, internal audits, and other grievance and complaint channels, and not just whistleblowing.
Thanks, Kasper. Then we have ESG. What will this cover now and in the future?
Yeah, the current Falcony ESG is actually closest to a suite already. So here we can simply follow our roadmap of improving our existing Falcony ESG modules and adding new ones, like, for example, VSME, which is the voluntary small and medium-sized enterprise reporting, GRI reporting, and, for example, improved supply chain monitoring.
And ESG compliance is probably the fastest moving suite at the moment, am I right?
Yeah, of course, all of them have improvements all the time, but the reason for that is probably because there's just so much happening in the regulatory picture. However, the way we see this market going is that when this bigger wave of customers having complied with the standards and regulations, there will be a further demand for more operational tools on how to benefit from the aggregated ESG data.
And what would that mean more specifically?
Well, if we think about it, the setup of doing this CSRD reporting is more about looking at the rear view mirror. But since there are a lot of data points that can be used elsewhere in the business than just complying with the regulations, a suite like Falcony, with all the integrations that we have, is well positioned to help there as well.
Great stuff. Thanks, Arttu. Then we have the facilities suite. Kasper, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so here we will of course have a few of our current spearhead products like tenant portal, property audit, and service provider quality assessments. But we will also show how much more vast the facility suite already is, even if we haven't pushed some of these modules before.
Okay, you got me interested.
All right, so for example, we already have a working solution for service requests, work orders, preventative maintenance, along with two-way integrations with maintenance management systems.
Sounds really good. Next one on the line is Falcony Security. How about you continue, Arttu?
Yeah, sure. Under this umbrella, we will include several of our back in the days so-called original Falcony use cases like guard reporting, loss prevention, especially in retail, security inspections. But overall, security it's a huge topic overall, and we're looking to help not just in this physical security, but in the bigger picture of corporate security.
So, covering also IT and cybersecurity, for example.
Exactly, with relevant incident, audit, self-assessment, and compliance templates, along with two-way integrations to other systems.
And as with ESG, this is also something where the regulatory space is moving really fast.
It is, yeah. We already actually have templates for some of them, so we can help with DORA, NIS2, Data Act, ISO 27001 compliance. And we are just adding more and more of these to help with also other regulatory compliance templates.
Sounds good. Last but not least is the Falcony XM, which stands for Experience Management. Kasper, what will this cover?
The current Falcony ideas will go under this, along with the surveys and NPS use cases mentioned previously today. Then we'll have a bunch of templates that our customers have found a way to include in Falcony. For example, visual merchandising, customer journey audits, a simple customer feedback form, and even HR feedback and ticketing.
So a lot of stuff to do anyways.
Absolutely, but in a good sense.
Exactly. So what's in it for you as a Falcony customer or potential customer? By creating these, you will have more clarity on our overall offering and the roadmap for each of the suites. It will be easier for you to expand to other solutions and also buy solutions that you are not yet using. There will also be cross-product benefits of using more than one of these, and also anything to add?
Well, maybe to your last point about the cross-platform benefits. Let's say you use Falcony for HSEQ, security, perhaps daily operations. One of the cross-product benefits is that a single dashboard can be used for all of them at once.
That's interesting. Is this one here an example of such a dashboard?
It is, and this is also on our roadmap already. So this dashboard helps to have a holistic view of such operational efficiency KPIs like time to close, time to report, age of open, and such KPIs.
Great. Thanks, Arttu. Any other upcoming dashboard updates, Kasper?
Actually, a lot of them, but the ones I want to highlight most are list and register views in Power BI. It will have many of the same functionalities that we have in Falcony Table View, but pre-built for certain user groups, like management teams.
And a good example is the risk register view, I assume.
Exactly. That will be added within the current risk management dashboard.
But it works for many other lists as well.
Yes, it does. For example, listing open tasks, realized risks, and even emissions. There are a lot of untapped opportunities for both our customers and ourselves here.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, we have just a couple of slides left, but I've got to say that the next one is something that I've been personally waiting for a long time myself to be able to promote. So, Falcony AI is something that is also in the works. Of course, we've had certain AI capabilities elements already in our offering. We've experimented with image segmentation and Copilot as part of Power BI. But now that the language models are exponentially better, it's time to tease what we're looking to do in this arena, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Arttu, I know we haven't committed fully to any of the options shown next, but should we just unfold some of the stuff we've been considering?
Let's do it. So here's a list of 6 options, starting with the top left corner, AI summary field. What that would mean in practice is that there could be a summary data field that would be generated automatically based on the contents of an individual observation or an individual audit.
So a summary of an observation or a summary of an audit would be created automatically, like, for example, when you consume news these days, there are those summaries in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So you wouldn't have to open, for example, each observation. You could see them before going deeper. And it's a super fast way of getting to know what is there.
Yeah, really good. Next up, we have the AI digest and analysis.
Yeah, that would be a close cousin, so to say, to this AI summary field. But instead of just one observation, it would be of multiple observations at once. Also, instead of only summaries of multiple observations or audits, it could help with giving, for example, recommendations, analyzing root causes of multiple observations, and so on.
Sounds really good. Then there's something called similar observations. What does that mean?
Put it simply, when looking at a single observation, the AI could help to find similar observations with just a click of a button, even if they were different categories.
Really good. Then jumping to the top right corner, AI custom bots.
Yeah, that would be, I guess, more customer-specific thing, where the AI bot could be taught with customers' own, let's say, documents, instructions, and manuals, or whatever content they have. Then, let's say an observation is reported, the AI bot could easily suggest actions and give answers to all parties involved.
Yeah, and how about the AI-assisted templates?
Yeah, this is mainly for the admin users, as we have the templates there in the admin side. What it is for is about creating audit or perhaps also observation templates based on AI prompts. So you add instructions for the AI, what kind of template you want, and it automatically creates it for you.
Really good.
So much faster way to create and also experiment with new kinds of templates.
True. Finally, snap observations.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite and also probably the most time-consuming to do, I guess. Let's consider the current observation reporting workflow. So instead of first choosing the observation category and then taking photos, how it currently works, how this could help is that the reporter could first take a photo and then let the AI assist with the category classification. On top of that, we could have their automated form filling based on the image analysis. So text field could be automatically filled based on the image. And even have multi-image support if the incident or observation is really complex.
Thank you, Arttu. So, like we said, we haven't yet fully committed to any of these, but the development in this area is moving really fast, and so are we. So we already start promoting and gathering the interest for beta testing. If you and your organization would be interested to test any of these AI capabilities in the future, let us know. A link to the form for the Contact Us page will be shared now in the chat. Fill in the form and we'll be in touch with soon. Anything else, guys?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, same here.
Great. Arttu, how about a final note?
Sure. So we've launched registries today, reminded you about many of the last year's functionalities we've released, teased some nice, exciting upcoming and potential features. But what unifies this all is, again, as you might guess, involvement. The more people you can involve and the more often, the better grip of your area of responsibility you will have.
And that's what we ultimately aim to do here at Falcony, help you involve, observe and evolve.
Exactly.
And this concludes our launch event today. Thank you, Arttu. Thank you, Kasper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all. We'll keep the chat open for questions for another 10 to 15 minutes. From all of us, we'd like to thank you for your participation today, or if you're consuming this as a post-event recording. Let's stay in touch. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.